Simwood's developer resources for TADHack this year. First of all, we're offering support via Slack channel, as we did before. The people in the Slack channel will be the Simwood support team and also the developers who built the Simwood platform. So it's the best place to go for any answers, and to pick code snippets and stuff will be a lot easier there than by email. And obviously this year we can't be there in person. To get started, a short registration form, simwood.com/TADHack2020. We review each application manually. Shortly afterwards, you'll receive an email with credentials to access the Simwood and also links to the things like that. TADHack's a bit different from a normal Simwood. TADHack developer account isn't for production use. We've intended it just to let you explore the Simwood portal API and build things around them. There'll be a free credit, which if you run out, ask in the Slack channel and we can sort that out. There's no request for billing information. There's obviously no way we can charge you, and the account will be removed at the end of the event. If you do receive any emails suggesting there's an invoice or anything like that, these are automated. They're part of our standard service and they can be safely ignored. You'll get an email with credentials. There are two, one for the portal, one for the API. They're different. The portal uses your email address as a username, and the password's automatically generated and won't be password 1234. The API uses two long hashes. One is the username, one is the password. Obviously, the API credentials don't work for the portal and vice versa. The Simwood portal is designed to be user accessible. It offers an overview of your account, lets you configure numbers, routing, trunks, set limits, our fraud prevention tools, things like that. Configure webhooks, which is probably of more interest to the TADHack team. We've put together sort of brief guide for some of the first steps that you need to do in the portal to get started. So when you log on, there's a home screen, shows any calls in progress, your current balance, which obviously is free money in this case, and there's the various tools down the side. To get started with outbound calling, you'll need a SIP trunk. There's a trunk management page. From there, you can see your existing trunks and create new ones. Most people probably want an auth trunk, which allows you to do SIP registration and make calls using a username and password to authenticate them. So if you tap new auth trunk, it'll ask you for a name, creates the trunk, and then you'll be given a password. Password is generated by us, cannot be changed, and it is only displayed at the time you create the trunk. You can't go back and see it. You can, however, reset it at any time by clicking the password button for that trunk. Trunks have a wide range of settings. You can do things like maximum number of concurrent calls, duration, maximum cost of a call, different limits for international versus domestic traffic. It's worth noting, because obviously this is aimed in the US, that when we refer to international in the portal at the moment, it means out with the UK. So if you do find that you're seeing limits you wouldn't expect, like hitting a rate limit or something like that, check the international call limits, because even though you're seeing it as a domestic call, it is actually international from the point of view of the portal. Once created, a trunk is just a normal SIP account. You could use it with anything like Asterisk, Tractio, FreeSwitch, or just a soft phone. If you want to receive incoming calls as well, use reg.simwood.com. And if you want to make calls just outbound with no need for inbound, you can use out.simwood.com. When using these in the US, both of these are USA hosts, and you'll be routed to either San Jose or New York, whichever is the closest city to you. We provide a wide range of phone numbers across the USA, UK, and much of Europe. Again, the portal, very easy to do to allocate a new number. Just search for a standard number, enter 1 star for all of the US, or 1201 for specific state, 1212 for New York, etc. And you can allocate a number instantly. Once allocated, we've got a tool for configuring how the number routes. This is drag and drop, which was all the rage 5 years ago when we built it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on mobile devices, so you do need to use a desktop browser for this. But basically, you can drag endpoints such as SIP or registration, PSTN if you want to forward to another number, into the routing configuration, and then specify where you want the call to go. So SIP will let you route to a SIP URI directly. So %DID at example.com in this case would be expanded to the number that they dialed at whatever your host is. And of course, we support SRV and TLS and everything on these. The reg endpoint, if you've created a trunk, select it from the drop-down and we'll send calls to anything that's registered there. Webhooks, we introduced at TADHack last year. Simwood's platform is entirely event-driven, and with the webhooks, we expose these events directly to developers who want to act on them. So you can receive instant notifications of calls that are in progress, or when a new inbound call arrives, or CDRs at the end of a call, etc. You can configure these within the portal, a single URL for each, and then when these events are triggered, you'll receive a message as they occur. So for example, an inbound call, a blocked call, or your calls in progress, all of this is in the documentation, which you can find at the URL at the start, and we'll get back to it at the end. The API lets you do almost everything you can do in the portal. It's designed as a more developer-friendly view, gives you complete control of the account and a few extra features. So similar to what we did in the portal, to allocate a number or to configure a number, you can see there that it's simple JSON structure. And again, this is all documented. And if you have any questions, ask in Slack where the team will be able to help you out. Similarly, we created a trunk in the portal. There's how you do it in the API. Simple put request to the URL, and the response will include the SIP password for that account. Again, you can get the trunk information. You can see all the parameters you can set on a trunk, like rate limits and maximum costs. And you can set these parameters by making a put request to the same URL. Calls in progress is another example. You can even end a call in progress. So if you've got a list of calls, you can send delete method to the API URL, and that will hang up the call. Common problems, again, these are mainly ones we identified last year, so hopefully this answers the questions most people have from the start. Check that your ACLs allow any and all of our required IPs. Media will come from a different IP address than signaling in most cases, so it's not sufficient just to allow out.simwood.com through your firewalls. There's an interoperability guide on the website in the TADHack developer resources that lists all the IPs you need to allow. All calls must have a valid caller ID. This is a requirement of UK legislation, and obviously we operate predominantly in the UK. We are also aware that in the US it's becoming a bigger thing to cut down on robocalling. If you send a call without a valid caller ID, it will fail. We'll return an error in the signaling that says X reason, invalid caller ID, so you should be able to identify these. The trunk settings allow you to set a caller ID on a per trunk basis, so you can set a default so that whatever you send from your soft phone or whatever, if it sends 100, it doesn't matter, it'll be overwritten by that default. Check your codec offer. We support G711, G722, and Opus. All variable bitrate functions, etc. of Opus are supported. Notably, we don't support G729. If it's present, it might actually negotiate in G729 if the endpoint is G729, but we do not support it, and it can cause problems. Common issues with the API. Firstly, check the credentials. The portal username and password do not work for the API. They're separate credentials, and they're in your welcome email. Check the URL you're requesting. Most of the URLs have an account ID as part of the URL, so they all take the form of v3, then section, then the account number, then the function. The account number needs to be the number that's on your account. And check the expected format in the documentation. Our API has evolved over time. Some endpoints are a little different from others. We are working to make this a lot more consistent. They're all JSON, but some will have a slightly different structure from others. Do check the documentation, and it should be explained there. There's a full list of resources on our website at simwood.com/TADHack-developer. This includes our interoperability guide, our API documentation, which is a lengthy PDF tome. Again, we've identified that we can improve this, and there will be an updated documentation in the future. A simple getting started guide, and obviously our terms and conditions, which do apply to a TADHack account, because obviously we are a telco, we are governed by certain regulations and our acceptable use policy. Above all, we're here to help. During TADHack, please use our Slack channel. You've got direct access to the people that built all of this and our support team. We're really looking forward to see what you do. We've had some great entries with TADHack and TADHack Global in the past. We can't wait to see what you can do, and we're here to help you along. If you've got any questions, ask us on Slack. I'm Ross. My colleagues Kathleen and Charles, who are also on this call, will also be in the Slack room, and we look forward to helping you.